The last equation we'll be doing is dividing radicals using the conjugate. The conjugate is just the opposite of whatever the equation is. So for this, we're going to use it for the denominator. We are going to do 4 minus 4 square root of 5. And then we're going to times that by the top and the bottom. So the numerator and the denominator. For this, you will have to remember the methods of FOIL, which are just multiplying this whole equation by this whole equation. First, we will have to do the 4's. I like to put these lines underneath to remind me where I am and what steps I'm at in the equation. 4 times 4 is 16. And then I'll do 4 times negative 4 square root of 5. For this, I have to remember that I can only multiply on the outside of what's the radicand is. So then that'll be negative 16 radicand of 5. I'm done with this 4, and now I move on to 4 radicand of 5. And then I'll multiply that by this 4, which would be positive 16 radicand of 5. And then finally, I'll do positive 4 square root of 5, negative 4 square root of 5, which is negative 16 square root of 25. And for the denominator, this will be the equation we get. Now we just have to simplify it. The first thing I can look at is we have negative 16 square root of 5, and we also have positive square root of 16. Positive 16 square root of 5, excuse me. That means we can cancel these out. And then we are left with 16 minus 16 square root of 25, which we then can even simplify to 16 minus 16 times 5. Because again, we can factor out a 5 because 5 times 5 equals 25 because that's a perfect square. Once we get here, we know that 16 times 5 equals 80. So then it's 16, and because we have to do PEMDAS first, or please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, we can't just cancel these out and get 5. We have to multiply these two by each other first. So then we have 16 minus 80. 16 minus 80 is negative 64. So this is what you'll get for your denominator. And then we will move on, and knowing that negative 64 is our denominator. Now we'll go back to the top, and we will be looking at the numerator. Again, I'm going to use my lines. 3 times 4 is obviously 12. And then 3 times negative 4 radicand of 5 is going to be negative 12 radicand of 5. Which then we're going to bring all the way down back above our numerator. Now, if you're thinking we are done, we still have just a few more steps to do. Because these, we can both factor out a 2 here, we can divide this by 2 to get it even simpler. So then we have 6 minus 6, but again, we can't factor out a 2 in here because this is its own it's its own part of the equation. So we'll just keep that the same. And then we'll have negative 32. But again, we can factor out a 2 and we can get 3 minus 3, or negative 3, and then radicand of 5, and then negative 16. Because we cannot factor anything out of the 3's anymore, this is as simple as it will get. and then you're done.